Welcome to our $4 million in 4 years, selling only 12 days a year with Mr. X. My name is Tim Mai, in case we haven't met yet. And Mr. X, the reason why we call him Mr. X is actually a good friend of mine, Scott Jelinek, who doesn't want to be known publicly for this business model. It's not something that he teaches elsewhere. I want to introduce you to him. He's a successful real estate investor in the Virginia Beach area who turned into a real estate investing coach with this local coaching business model. And, Scott's been doing this for 4+ years now. And every single year for the last 4 years, he has consistently made over $1 million a year. His last event that he did, of course, he's getting better and better, right? His last event that he did over $500,000 in just one event. Phenomenal results that he's producing. And this is coming from someone, he'll share with you, coming from someone who, had a fear of public speaking his whole life. Also, you're going to learn from one of our mastermind members, Zach Wiest, out of the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania area. So small market. Zach implemented this exact business model that we're going to share with you. And within 10 months, he's only been in this business for 10 months, already did over $1.4 million. This last event he did grossed over $715,000 in just one event. Phenomenal results. And I'm going to personally share with you my own local coaching model, what I've done here in Houston, Texas, how I structure in such a way where I didn't have to do a lot of the coaching. I wasn't the main coach, and structured where I was able to sell the business and exit out of the business as well. And as if that's not enough, right? You can have an opportunity to schedule a one-on-one call with Scott and I to go through, and look at your business and your local market and see if this local coaching model is the right model for your market. And if it is the right fit, we're going to invite you to join our mastermind where we're going to help you implement the A to Z of this local coaching model in your own business. And you're going to have an opportunity to see it live in person at Scott's next event. You get to see how, he takes them into a 3-day and, sell people into packages of worth of $50,000 per package, right, per coaching program. So with that, enjoy, and here's Scott.
We're going to start at the beginning, and the reason I want to do that is because I want you guys to understand who I am and how I got about this, and it's a very simple thing. Plus, when I got into this part of the model, I was so adamantly against it, and that's why I wanted to start from the beginning, because sometimes when people first hear what it is that we do now, that's their first thoughts, is there's no way, I would never do that. And so that's why I speak fast, so it won't take you forever, but I'm going to start at the beginning, and then we'll get you there. So hang on one second.
Yeah, you should be able to
share screen.
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen.
Share my screen.
There you go.
All right, is that working?
Yep.
All right, so for those of you who can't tell by my rate of speech, I'm just gonna let you know I'm originally from New York. I grew up on Long Island. Nassau County. I was one of those people, and I don't know everybody on this call, but I'm not one of those smart types. I was not interested in school. I sold candy in school. That was kind of the main thing I did. The end of 11th grade, school teacher comes to me and says, Scott, why do you even come in? And it was ironic because really in my head, I was thinking, well, I come in to sell candy. I was always into making money. And I went home and I thought about it. I had a job after school. And that was my very last day of school. I dropped out of school in 11th grade. I worked full-time in the local mall. For those of you that know Long Island, it was Massapequa Sunrise Mall. And I sold sandwiches. I was, worked at a deli. And then one day they're having an Army recruiting event at the deli. And the soldiers kept coming in. At the mall, the soldiers kept coming in, getting lunch, and they're joking with me. And they're like, hey, what about you? Why don't you join? And I kind of laughingly responded, sorry, I'd love to, but I'm only 17 years old. To which they let me know, you only have to be 17 with your parents' permission. So I know I was a lot lighter then, but I ended up joining the Army, and I was in for a short time. And when I got out, I was back on Long Island. No special skills, no special knowledge of anything for work. So I ended up selling sodas on the beach. For those of you who've never been to Jones Beach, you wouldn't really understand it, but it's a whole different ball game than most other beaches. When you park, you walk through the Sahara before you get to the ocean. So people were happy to pay $2 a can. So I sold sodas on the beach for a while. This was about 1992 at the time. My mother decided to move to Virginia Beach, and I was thinking, I sell sodas on the beach. Why not move to a place with beach in its name? So in 1992, moved down to Virginia Beach. I didn't take 10 minutes here for those of you who have ever been to Virginia Beach to know there is no business here selling sodas on the beach. The beach is about as wide as a room, and there's hotels, restaurants, vending machines, cops everywhere. So that business was done. So I ended up cutting lawns, same business I tell people to this very day. If they can't make any money, don't know what to do, I'm like, anybody can grab a lawnmower and make $100, $200 a day. Anybody can, if you're willing to work. So I started mowing lawns. This is about 1992 to 1994. In 1994, my brother got a flyer on his door, and he called me with it. And the interesting part, for those of you who are old enough to remember, the very bottom down here, it says non-qualifying assumption. I don't know if you guys remember those. They did away with them in 1987 for FHA and 1989 for VA. But what it meant was anybody can take over your mortgage. Anybody, no pulse, no job, no credit, no anything, just work a deal with the seller and they can take over, kind of like sub-2, only with the mortgage company's blessing. And so the agent explained to me it was $5,000 down, $675 a month. At the time, I was renting a townhouse for $675 a month. So I purchased this house and had zero interest in real estate, just figured better to own than to rent. So this is 1994. Now I started mowing lawns right around that neighborhood, $10 a lawn because it's townhouses, quick and easy. Well, about 2 to 3 weeks after I purchased this house, a sign comes up on the block, and the sign said, $2,000 down, take over payments. So as I know it sounds ignorant now, but without any knowledge of real estate, equity, value, anything, all I knew was I paid $5,000 down, this one was $2,000 down, and I felt like I got ripped off. So my genius brain said, well, if I buy that one as well, now I'm at $3,500 down each, and I'm better off. So that's kind of what I did. I purchased the second house on the block. I rented it for $675 a month. My mortgage was about $675 a month. Not a good business plan, but again, I was a child at the time myself. And so that was my first spark into real estate. That is when I concocted what I've always called my McDonald's plan. And this plan had just nothing to do with McDonald's. I never worked at McDonald's, but I used to jokingly tell my friends, I'm going to buy $1 million worth of these and I can go work at McDonald's if I want for 30 years and I'll be a millionaire. And that was the journey I was on. That was my plan. And that would have worked. Although now in hindsight, I realize 30 years is a long time. And then I also wasn't marking up the houses. I really had no knowledge of real estate, but I was buying as much as I could with non-qualifying assumptions. I got to about 20 of them by 2001. And in 2001, a couple things happened. One, for those of you who have been in business for a while, you remember 2001 was our first spark of appreciation. All of a sudden, these townhouses that I had been buying for $65,000 were now $85, and then $95, and then $125, and $139. And so it got very interesting. So I've started full-time in 2001. I was buying houses since 94, but full-time in 2001. And I bought a lot of houses. So I got to about 84 houses that I was holding. I was also wholesaling. I learned to wholesale in 01. I was wholesaling, I was rehabbing, but I had 84 holds. And then 2007 came along. So you guys all know what happened in 2007. It was devastating. For anybody who was in business, it was devastating. I know a lot of people started in 9 and they're like, what are you talking about? But it was a very interesting, hard time. And we recovered. So 2001, 2007, 8 was really, really bad. 2009 started recovery. And we have flourished now on top of that, although it was a very hard time in between. And I share that with you because I have some different strategies that I never would have done had I not gotten busted up the way I did during the boom. So fast forward, I've been doing real estate now for 26 years. And I currently have done over 700 deals in my local market. And I know for some of you guys on the line, you may be like 700. I do 700 every year. I know people that talk about they do 30 deals a month. So I completely understand. Some people are like 700 a lot. Some people are like 700 was last year. And but I do different kinds of deals. I don't do real small deals. I don't carry a lot of overhead. I changed my whole business where it's pretty much just me. So I make money, I get to keep it, which has been fantastic. I currently own 115 properties in my local market. 49 of them are free and clear. I have everything on a different kind of program where I believe in free and clear when we pay them off as quickly as possible. I average about 40 deals a year. I see your cat there, Gil. I'm a cat person myself. I average about 40 deals a year. That I know is not a lot of deals, but I structure them in such a way where it is a lot of money. We do a small amount of deals with very low overhead and a lot of money. 12 is the number that to this very day, I always tell people it's the number that I'm most proud of, because this is why I do this business and why I push people in the direction that I push them. And 12 is the number of weeks I spend traveling every year with my family. So when I designed this business, or when I redesigned it, I designed it to be life first, and then what kind of business can I fit into the time that's left, as opposed to what I did for my first 15 years in the business, which was, let me just work as much as I can, and then someday this will all be worth it. So fast forward, I come to December 18th of 2015. So December 18th of 2015, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who some of you guys may know. His name is Antonio Edwards. He's down in Florida, and he's from my local market. That's where I know him, but he lives in Florida now. So he called me and told me that he was doing a live event, a local event. And I was all intrigued by it, because Antonio had only been investing for a couple of years. I've already been investing for many years, and I taught him a lot of stuff. And so I was like, and he's doing a live event, and I was so intrigued by it. And so he's telling me, he's like, yeah, you should do it. You should do it. And I'm like, well, first of all, I have never spoken in my entire life to anybody ever. Like I was the type of person that if you sat me at a conference table and everybody had to stand up one at a time and just say your name and where you're from, I was panicked. I'm trying to time a bathroom break so they would skip my turn. So I had never spoken in my entire life. And on top, I was under the belief, which a lot of people are, that, well, you can't do that in your local market. You can't teach people. You're teaching your competition then, right? You can't teach people in your local market. You can't train people to be your competitor. And so I firmly believed that. So he sent me an email and connected me with these two guys named Joe and Mike. And basically just said, hey, I just want you to meet you, talk to them, let them explain to you what it's about. And maybe it's something you're interested in, maybe it's not. Well, that phone call on December 18th ended with me putting a date on the calendar. April 15th was my first event. So I literally hung up the phone, and then I called my wife and I said, oh crap, what did I just do? And I set a date. I'm like, there's people coming to work, and I have to now do this. And I'm scared beyond any fear I can ever imagine a person going through. If you guys don't have the fear of speaking, you're blessed, because it was an unbelievable, crazy, sickening fear that I had. So Antonio had his event in February. My first event was going to be in April. And so I asked him, as a favor, would you mind if I come to your event and speak? I don't care if it was for 10 minutes, try speaking so I can see if I'm going to vomit all over myself. I wanted it to be on your stage and not have me put on a whole event for myself and not be able to actually do it. And so he agreed. So I went down to his event in February. And this is, I know it's a little fuzzy because I actually took it off a video off his YouTube channel, but this is my very first time speaking in my entire life, February of 2016. And two things I wanted to point out on it. The fear, if you don't have a fear of speaking, you wouldn't understand. But for those of you who have a fear of speaking or have had it, it's insane. It's literally crippling. Well, two things I wanted to point out. The reason he's on stage with me is because I was like, well, I can't just go by myself. I couldn't do it. I was like, no, to just come with me, And then on top of that, why do we have chairs? Because I couldn't stand. I'm like, no, just bring up some chairs and we'll kind of sit and talk. And it was insane on how something can be that crippling of a fear. And now fast forward 5 years, and I've spoken to any amount of people, and it's irrelevant to me now. But back then it was a huge, huge crippling fear.
You know what, Scott, real quick, it's amazing to me that even knowing that you have this fear of public speaking, you went ahead and schedule a date, first before you even think. That's
the way I do everything. I'm like, just put it on the calendar and it'll happen. Anything else, and you'll just keep putting it off for the rest of your life. So
that's awesome. I love that.
That's the way I do it. But it always, it's one of the stories I tell. Not to be off topic, but I always tell people, I wonder how many other things we're afraid of that we just don't ever do, that if we had just done it, that fear would be gone forever. Because now I can speak in front of any amount and it's a non-issue for me, but for my entire life, like I couldn't even just to stand up and say your name and where you're from was horrible, horrible fear for me. So got beyond it. I started doing my previews, and I had 6 previews set up. For those of you who don't know what they are, they're the free 2-hour intro to your 3-day event. And I only had 12 people sign up. And so I called the guys back and I said, listen, you don't have to come out. I understand, I only have 12 people. I was hoping to have 50, 60. And they were like, no, we'll still come out. Don't worry about it. It's a work in progress. And then I tweaked overnight before my last event. I tweaked everything, and I signed up 12 people at my last one. So I ended up with a total of 24 people at my first event. Nervous as a person can be. It was a tiny group. This was my very first event. These are the people, that I had at my first event, 24 buying units, probably 30 people in the room. And we ended up doing well. And I have been hooked ever since. But it's a complete different model than everybody knows. So now we've grown. That's where I was going with it. Now we've grown. Now sometimes I have 150 people in an event, and I zero fear of speaking anymore. I've gotten up on stage. I went to a thing down in Tampa for the Outback Bowl, and they had me up on stage cheering for Mississippi State and thousands of people, and that didn't even faze me. And I'm like, I could have never done that just a couple of years ago. But it's amazing how time goes, and the same things don't faze you anymore. So, and I know I'm talking fast, but I'm doing that on purpose so that we'll have plenty of time for Tim to go over his stuff, and then for us to have a conversation and answer questions. So first off, I want to answer, what is the local model? What is it exactly that we do? And then I want to answer some commonly asked questions about why people say you can't possibly do this. So the local model is where we do actual local events in our local area and do local coaching. And I know so many people are so against this. If you guys know anything about the industry, the seminar coaching industry, it is, and I don't want to talk bad about it because some of you guys may be involved with them or you may be products of them. However, it's rough. It's a rough industry. They fly into town, they do a 3-day event, they sign up people for a ridiculous amount of money, then they fly out of town, and this person gets a coach on the telephone to talk to an hour a week or whatever it may be for a small amount of time, and then it's over. What the local model is we do local events in our local area, and then we sign up the coaching students, and then we actually work with them, and we do deal splits with them. So when I started this, and I'm going to talk about that on the next slide, but my biggest fear was, first off, well, am I going to teach them all my tricks, and then I'm going to have all this competition that knows exactly what I know, what I think is proprietary in my head. And secondly, is it gonna kill my market? How could you do this locally? And so it's actually done the opposite. And I've only been in it 5 years now, but I'm going to share with you my numbers in a minute. But my real estate business has boomed as well as this coaching business. So what has it done for me? It's completely revolutionized my business to where before, and not to get ahead of myself with numbers, my real estate business, I would make anywhere from maybe $300,000 to $500,000 a year, depending on what I was doing. Since I started this, my real estate business and the coaching business, we haven't done less than $1 million a year take home. And my real estate business has not shrunk at all. As a matter of fact, it's grown, but I don't spend the money I used to spend on marketing. There was times I was spending $15,000 a month in marketing. Now I spend $100 a month. I spend for my Carrot site, and that's it. Everything else I do through the group. I don't spend any money on marketing anymore. So my real estate business is flourishing more than ever. I don't spend money on marketing, and I do the same amount of deals, probably some bigger, and it's completely changed. And now in my local market, where I was invisible, and I stay invisible, mind you, which is why we did Mr. X, because this is the very first time I'm ever even talking about this, and I don't like everybody to know the numbers behind what I'm doing on a local basis. And so I didn't want it to be out there. So when me and Tim were talking about it, I was like, well, I don't want to say my name and then there's doing X, because I don't want people being like, oh, he's doing all this money. So that's why I've never talked about this before, where we're actually going over the numbers. And so common questions, if you guys may have thought of, if you've ever even thought of this industry. First off, how could you do this locally? How could you do it locally? You're going to teach people basically to compete with you. And the answer is yes, you are. You're teaching people to compete with you. However, a good chunk of those people are going to be not employees, but they're going to be partnering with you. They're going to be working with you. So it's almost like, I think of it almost like a franchise, And all these people, so I have like over 100 people now that are all in my local market that are partners. You know, we call them coaching partners. I have over 100 people in my local market seeking deals, doing marketing, going on appointments. And when they get deals, I work on them with them and we split the money. So it's not me anymore who's out there trying to do it. I have an army of people getting me deals. Are you afraid you're going to saturate the market? So I've had people tell me this all the time. They're like, well, how long could you do this for? I do 4 events a year. They're like, how long could you do it for? Because, you know, you get all these people, you're going to saturate the market. And my answer to that is, for 26 years that I'm aware of, since I've been in real estate, every single week, except COVID time, every single week, there's a 3-day event flying in from one of these big boxes. They fly into town, they fly out of town every week for the last 26 years, and nothing's changed, nothing's saturated. So my doing 4 little events per year is not going to have any effect on the market, period. Do you worry about running into these people? Some of these guys who do, I don't know if any of you guys do this, some of you guys that do online stuff or online marketing, they're like, well, I'm behind a screen. I don't actually see people. I don't meet them. Are you afraid you're going to run into them? And the answer is absolutely not. And we do run into them. I run into them in restaurants. I run into them at the doctor's office. Recently, I ran into somebody. We do run into them, but we are delivering above and beyond what we're agreeing to deliver. When they see me, they treat me like I'm a celebrity who helped them with their business. I mean, they absolutely love us. We go above and beyond to make sure, you know, we are over delivering, because you have to, you know, if you're in this business, if you're even thinking about this business and your intent is to make money and not to actually help people, it will not work. This business really works well if your real desire is to help people and make a bunch of money while doing it. And so, yes, you will run into people, but as long as you're doing what you say you're going to do and you actually are helping them to build their businesses, you're just a celebrity for them. And then lastly, the big question that people ask is, how much time does this take per week? I don't want to mess with my real estate business. I'm already busy. I'm already doing this and that. And I would say, barring when I do the 3-day events, because the 3-day events are 3 full days and we do some previews, which is an hour each day. I probably spend, I would say, 3 to 5 hours a week doing this model. And the rest of the time I'm still doing my regular real estate business, but probably 3 to 5 hours a week I spend either replying, doing an online meeting, doing an in-person meeting, or going on an appointment with a coaching student. It's not a full-time thing. Now, I know there are people, and Tim's going to talk after, his model was different where he had a whole business built around it and other people did the fulfillment. The way I've run my model is it's just me. It literally is me. And, you know, and my wife obviously helps, but I've done it this way on purpose because I like not having any overhead. I have 0 overhead and I enjoy that. So it takes me about 3 to 5 hours per week. But the opportunity and the numbers are just unprecedented. And I'm going to go into it in a second with you. So first off, I want to touch on the numbers. First, we have a sales team, and I don't know if Tim told you guys this yet or not. We have a sales team who, if for anybody who's interested in this type of model, who will come out and work your events, literally fly out to wherever you may be, even Hawaii, and I'm going on that one. Work your events. You pay nothing at all. They pay for their own airfare. They pay for their own hotel. They pay for absolutely everything. They will MC the event, invite you in, all that sort of stuff. And they get paid a commission only on money they collect. So it doesn't matter how much they sell. It matters how much they collect. They only get paid out of what they collect. And so you're at 0 risk with this whole team to come in and sell for you. Plus, I spend approximately $50,000 per event to put it on. Now, when I started, I spent almost nothing. And then as I grew, I realized that wasn't sustainable for me to keep doing it that way. So I spend approximately $50,000 per event. It's a little bit less because I take back money from them paying for the 3-day, but it's easier math to use the 50 because I'm going to show you the actual numbers that we've done. And I wanted you to keep in mind when we go over these numbers now, I'm going to show you 2017, 18, 19, and 20. We only did 1 event so far. But keep in mind, these numbers are only selling 12 days a year. This is not selling every day or being in the sales business where every day you're on the phone trying to close deals. This is just 4 events, 4 3-day events, 12 days a year we sell, and then that's it. The rest of the year we're doing our real estate business. So this is 2017. Our total sales for 2017 was $1,245,000. And keep in mind, this is in 12 days a year. Our pricing, and I know Tim was going to talk about that in a little while, our average pricing is $30,000 and $50,000. Now, Tim had a different model where he had a bigger package as well, but I've capped mine at 50. Everything's a matter of choice as to what the person's comfortable with. 2018, we sold $975,840, again, in 12 days. This is just 12 days a year. And this is not all the money that you make. This is all the money on top of your regular real estate business, on top of whatever it is else you're doing. Now, keep in mind, that's a top line number. So out of that number, I'm paying 25% commission. So keep that in mind, 25% commission and $50,000 per event. So right off the bat, if you do $1 million, you know you spent $200,000 in marketing and 25%. So you would have walked away with $550, which is still not too shabby. That's just from that one revenue source. And we're going to talk, there's a bunch of other revenue sources as well. 2019, last year, we did just under $1.4 million, 1.4 million. And this is why I wanted to start you all the way back from me from the beginning, showing that I have no special skills and no history in this whole industry. And it was just a matter of saying, screw it, I'm going to do it. And we're crushing it. And I know people who do 10 times the business that I do, but make less money, significantly less money. I know people that have big, way bigger businesses. And when you actually have a beer with them and talk about how much they're actually filing on their return, what they're actually making, it's significantly, significantly less, to where I was shocked sometimes. So last year cleared a total of 1.386, just under 1.4 million. And this is in 12 days a year. Now, mind you, we're not just working 12 days a year. I don't want to misinform anybody. 12 days a year of selling. The rest of the time, we still are doing deliverables 5 hours a week. We have meetings. We talk to people on the computer or on the phone. I research deals with them. I go on appointments with them. On average, I would say it's about 5 hours a week. But the actual selling is 12 days a year. And then so far for this year, I've sold 654,000, collected 458,000. And we've only had one event so far this year, because my last event was mid-May, and you all know what happened there. And so that was completely canceled. And I am planning on having a next one late August, if the heavens open up and they release us all from our captives. I plan on having one again in August, but this has been just from one event so far this year. We collected 458,000, sold 654. So we still have a bunch in collection. And that's just from one 3-day event. This is from no experience whatsoever. Now, mind you, I have real estate experience, but no experience in the industry, in the selling or coaching or seminar type industry. And I don't consider myself to be in the seminar industry. I'm still, when people say, what do you do? I'm a real estate investor and a coach. So why are we doing this? So I wanted to touch on this before I give it back over to Tim. So why are we actually doing this event that we're doing right now? Or why are we teaching people and bringing people into this industry? So there's a couple things. My personal purpose has always been to inspire, motivate, train, and coach as many people as I can toward financial abundance. And that's what I've already been working on. That's what I've been doing for years. However, recently, when Tim and I first spoke, we were thinking about how many people we help now and how much of an impact we have in our local markets. But with this purpose, how much more of an impact would we have if we helped teach and train people to do this same thing in their local market? Instead of me being able to get to 400 to 500 people a year, if we can train 10 people who are going to get to 400 and 500 a year, it was going to be that much more abundant all the way around. On top of that, over the years, I've learned things that I wish I knew in the beginning. A lot of things. Even my first 5 previews, I said, I tweaked it before the 6th and doubled the whole first 5. I did the exact same amount in one more. Well, I've learned things along the way, different things to say, different other avenues of revenue generating. So we only talked about the sales from the coaching. I didn't even mention we get deal splits. So when my people do deals, we get half the fee, 30, 40, and 50%, 30%, 40%, and then 50% thereafter. So that's a big chunk of money also. And then there's also like 6 different revenue sources that we do, little things where we have affiliate with this or website, or, we have different affiliates. It doesn't amount to much, but total, I'm probably at about $8,000 a month from little things that I wish I had known in the beginning, because I've only been doing some of these things for like a year and I'm at $8,000 a month. I'm like, if I had started 5 years ago, I would have already been probably at $30,000 a month. And so that's why I was like, it would be so important if I can train people this stuff from the beginning and not have to learn as you go. And then there's other things that, little things like I have, if you were to Google me or Google my company, it's called Master Investor Academy. I have like 225 5-star reviews at 0 negative. Well, that was proactive, and I have a system for doing it, for getting the reviews. And so I'm like, it's really important because when someone's getting ready to sign up with you, they research you. And so I'm very proactive in making sure that everybody leaves, does certain things. And so again, I think about, I wish I had started that in the beginning. I only came up with that plan about 1.5 years ago. So that's kind of where I was like, when Tim and I were talking about it, is how many more people can we help instead of just helping the 100 people that show up to each of my events 4 times a year? I'm like, well, I'm not stopping doing that by any means. I'm like, but what if we could help 10 other people to have 4 events in their market? And instead of me helping 500 people, now we're helping 5,000 people. And that's kind of what we're doing here today. Now, some of you guys may have 0 interest in this and be like, whoa, I want to just flip houses. I have no interest whatsoever. And that is perfectly okay. But if it was something that was ever in your head, or you thought, like I did, someday, I always thought someday when I retire, because in my head, I thought I couldn't do it while I was still active because I can't teach my people locally to compete with me. So I always felt someday when I retire, I'll do it. And I kind of got thrown into the fire. And in hindsight, it is literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. And so that's why Tim and I had spoken about it. And we said, listen, he's got a very, very similar purpose as I do, about inspiring, motivating, training, and coaching as many people as we can. And so we decided we were going to collaborate on this and put a bunch of people together and really change this entire industry. Because you guys know this industry has a really, really bad reputation. And what we're doing is the exact opposite. We have a really, really good reputation because people pay, and no disrespect to any of these companies, Fortune Builders, Rich Dad, all those, people pay them $50,000 and they get a phone call once a week for, they get, I don't want to talk bad about them, but they get very little. What they get from us is 1,000 times more. And so our reputation is stellar, and people really get value out of what we deliver. And so I think if we can get a group of people, only one person, obviously, in any geographical area, we can change the entire industry from where they just kind of fly in, take your money and fly away, to where they're actually helping people, actually training people, and making a difference in the local market. That's all I got for you guys on that. And I'm going to send it back over to Tim, and he's going to explain more, first off on his model, but then second off of what we're actually planning and trying to accomplish with this.
Yes, awesome. So we have Zach Weiss on the line with us. Zach is one of our mastermind members. And I know, Zach, you only have a few minutes, so I'm going to have you share a little bit about your local market, your local model first, and then I'll take it over from there. Zach, so share with everybody, who you are, what market you're in, when did you started doing this local coaching model? We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can hear you now.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, terrific. First of all, Tim, Scott, thank you very much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. And before I get into all that, Tim, let me just say every single word Scott just said is 100% the God honest truth. I experienced everything you just talked about, Scott. I was shaking in my boots the first time I had a 3-day event. Actually, I was shaking at the preview, let alone the 3-day event. So I was nervous to death, man. I had never done this before, like Scott. And in fact, I just did my first 3-day event. I pulled up my tracking sheet here. We did our first one March 22nd through the 24th of 2019. So about 15 months ago. That first event, Tim, we made over $350,000, and I almost had a heart attack when I got the final numbers in, because I thought if I just got my money back, I spent about $35,000 for the whole gig, and I thought if I just broke even, I'd be happy to prove the concept. And we made about $350,000. I've had 4 events since then, so a total of 4 3-day events. Our last event was January 24th through the 26th of this year, so right before COVID hit. We did $715,000 on that Day event, and it's still coming in. I just sent a video 2 weeks ago, and my team just closed a 30 deal, a 50 deal, and they think they're closing 2 more. So that event will probably end up being an $800,000 event when we're all said and done. And listen, let me tell you, I have used Scott's scripts. I've used Scott's radio spots. I've used Scott's emails. I just used all of Scott's stuff. It's awesome stuff. And I got to tell you, so I've made, just to summarize this whole thing, never was a coach, didn't even think about being a coach until 15 months ago, believed in Scott and his team, and we've done 1.4 million in 10 months. 1.4 million in 10 months, because we were about to hold another 3-day until COVID. So I had only been in the business for 10 months, and 1.4 mil.
Wow.
That is amazing, Zach. And so now you have a team, right? You're a little bit different from Scott. You have a team. So in your team, who's doing what in who's fulfilling which part of the business?
Yeah, so like Scott, I am about simplicity, man, and I want as small as possible. So I have 5 full-time people, including myself. So myself and 4 others. I've got, one of them is in the Philippines. They're a full-time virtual assistant that we pay $6 an hour. She does all admin. She'll handle technology setups for our students, their Podio implementation, training. She does all the admin and tech stuff. Then I have my business partner, Matt Hockley, who's a local real estate agent and handles all on-market acquisitions for our students. So he takes the front lead of all that. I handle all off-market acquisitions for our students. And then we've got a rehab project manager and an accounting person. And that's it. There's 5 of us. And, we're managing, I think we have 36 students right now. Most of them came in at the $50,000 package. That is our top tier package. We've got a $15,000, which is a 90-day, a $30,000, which is a 6-month, and a $50,000, which is a 12-month. And like Scott, we do some deal guarantees. The $50,000 program, we guarantee 4 deals. And like Scott, we're actually producing the results. We're not just giving these guys lip service. We're closing deals every day with our students. And honestly, we're changing freaking lives, man. I took a 24-year-old Peruvian immigrant who barely spoke English. She just, look at my Facebook or Instagram. You probably saw it, Tim. I had a yellow sweatshirt on. She just cashed a $25,000 check.
That's awesome.
I love it, man. It's, put it this way, and then I'll shut up because I got to go to this other webinar quick, but it's changed my life. I will coach as long as the industry will have me. And here's the greatest news. I was doing 100 deals a year before coaching. I'm still doing 100 deals a year, but others, like Scott said, the other people are doing all the work. I'm like still doing the same deals, but I got all the people out there meeting with sellers and negotiating deals and calling the people back. And I'm just sitting here making deals happen. So best thing I could have ever done. And just a quick shout out for you, Tim, and Scott. I hope you know how I feel about you, brother. You are brilliant when it comes to this business. But Tim, as you know, we jumped on the phone 2 weeks ago just for a quick strategy call, really just as friends more than anything. And I told you right then and there, you blew me away, bro. I took, just in that 30 minutes, I took so many notes and began implementing a lot of those strategies. So I just think this is all a no-brainer, man. If there's a real estate investor on the line that's having success that would like to add an additional stream of revenue, I can't think of a better opportunity.
Awesome. Really appreciate you, Zach. Yeah, and I thank you so much for jumping on. I know you had just a few minutes, so really appreciate you.
Definitely, man. Thank you, guys. And Scott, if I haven't told you, I love you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's what we're about, and Scott mentioned it earlier. Like we're about, helping other people, mentoring other people, lifting others up, financial abundance for everyone, right? That's what we're about. And so, yeah, you guys on this call, like you guys are all like top players in your market. You're, among like the cream, the cream of the crops, right? and so I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, and you do the same thing in your real estate business, the way you help sellers. So we're doing very similar to where not only are we helping the sellers, we're now helping other investors to help sellers as well. Yeah, so I want to share with you a little bit about how my model is a little bit different from Scott. It's also the local coaching model. It's just the way we structure our team is different. How I ventured into this whole local coaching in 2012 was because of this. I used to be the guy on the internet behind a computer. I love being behind a computer. However, as my coaching business on the internet was growing, my student success rate was declining. The more students I take on, the less successful in terms of percentages the students are. And I felt as a mentor, like I just did not feel good about that at all. I felt like very responsible. Well, that's great that I'm growing my business. It's great that I'm making all this money, but I'm not getting fulfilled by it. So I went on a quest, and you mentioned about McDonald's earlier. One of a friend of mine mentioned to me this. He said, when you go into McDonald's and you order a hamburger, right? You are almost guarantee 100% success that you're gonna get yourself a hamburger, right? And I took that on to ask myself, well, what would it take to have 100% success rate for students? Like, what would that take, right? Because we all know that in the education business, we're for most people, anyways, for the industry as a whole, we're kind of happy with a 3% success rate. A 10% success rate would be like crazy good, right? And so however, I didn't like that at all. So I asked myself, like, what would it take to have 100% success rate where every single one of our coaching clients does at least one deal while they're in our program? And I remember when I first started investing in 2000, when I first started teaching in 2006, my student success rate was so much higher because, at that time I was only teaching in Houston. And, it's because the students can see the deals that we do as a company. They can come to our office, they can like touch us and feel us, like, so it's very tangible for them. And my student success rate was so much higher. And so in 2012, I said, you know what, I'm gonna do a local coaching model, and provide all the local resources that I have to my students. Everything from the contractors that we use, to the title company, to the marketing company that does all of our mail outs, and our private lenders. So like, we literally give our students, I don't even make money off of like brokering private. I literally just refer my students to private lenders as they need their deals funded. So yeah, we hand them everything on a silver platter, everything that they would need in their real estate business. And that's what I love about the local coaching model. So here's where my model was a little bit different from Scott in the way we structure it, is that I knew what I was good at. I was really good at marketing. I was really good at the technology stuff. So I took on a partner that that was very good with the real estate aspect of it, and more specifically, very good with coaching other students. And so basically, that's how we divided up our roles and responsibilities. I did all of the marketing stuff to bring the student into the coaching program, right? So everything from the marketing, the preview, I manage all of that, all the way to a student coming into signing up and coming into our coaching program. From there, my partner takes it over, and he manages everything that has to do with the fulfillment side, the coaching side, and then each of us have our own team that we manage. So like, I didn't do any of the previews myself, I have someone in place to do them. I didn't do any of the selling myself. I have someone else, implement. I didn't do any kind of like Facebook ads, anything like that myself. I have an ad agency that we outsource. So we outsource a lot of things. I'm just the one that's responsible, right, to make that run. I'm just the coordinator of that. And then same thing with my partner, right? We, as in the beginning, he was doing all the coaching. However, as we had more successful students that came on, we convert our successful students into coaches. We branded everything under a company. We did not brand it wasn't a Tim Mai coaching program, or AC's coaching. AC was my partner. We didn't brand us individually. We branded the company. The company's name is Prosperity Real Estate Group. So everything we did was under the Prosperity Real Estate Group brand. And I mentioned I'll share with you why we did that in a little bit here. We have one of our students that does all the accountability coaching for accountability calls with our students. We have one of our top students that does all the deal reviews for our students. So that way, anytime they have a deal, this is the designated coach. We have a coach that goes on appointments with students, so basically, we identify where all the places that the students need help, and we put someone in place to do that. And our coaches, we didn't have to pay them a lot, and here's why. So what happens is that when we coach them, it's a year-long coaching. If they want to stay, they have to pay a renewal fee to stay. So what we did for our successful students is we created a mastermind just for the successful students. And in exchange, they help us. So they get to be a part of that mastermind for free. In exchange, they help us coach the newer students. And then they also had the first right of refusal to any of the deals that the students were wholesaling as well. So that was a great exchange. So back to the branding part. This is really important as you create your own program. Is that we did it as a company, and we didn't brand ourselves individually. Because we wanted the company to be independent of us. So that way, should any one of us or both of us decide to sell the company, that we are able to do that without, much disruption to the business, which is exactly what happened. So I was in the business from 2012 to 2016. And then in 2016, I sold the business over to my ex-partner and also another individual that came in as a silent partner. A lot of people, when they're thinking about coaching business, their concern is that, if it's all me, it's not a sellable business, right? So by branding the company and not branding you, you're able to, you are able to sell it. Much easier for sure. Now there is a transition period, no doubt. Selling any company, right? There's a transition period, yes. However, because the company is all branded as the company and not as me as an individual, the transition period of me exiting the company was much easier. And because I wasn't doing much of the direct coaching anyways, it really didn't matter. Because we have so many coaches in place, so it's like it's a company, and then we have coaches. It's not any one coach that sort of dominate the high the starlight of the company, right? So that's our model, I want to share with you what Scott and I are planning to, what Scott and I are doing. And as you saw earlier, Zach is in our mastermind. So Scott and I are creating a done with you implementation and mastermind program. So basically, if you like what you heard today about this local coaching model, and you want to implement it in your local coaching model, in your local market, we're gonna help you implement it. We have all the team lined up already. We have the ad agency that will run your Facebook ads, do your radio ads if that's what you're looking for. Now, you don't have to start with all these ads from your first event. You can do like what Scott did with his first couple events, right? So he starts out with just organic marketing with existing buyers base already, and so just light marketing to get your first event done. Get a good feel for it, make some money, and then you can then reinvest that money into Facebook ads, into radio ads. So we have the team already ready to implement any ads that you need, drive the traffic. We have the team that will do all the selling, so you don't have to worry about that at all. Your job at your 3-day event is just to wear one hat and one hat only. That's the mental hat. That's it, okay? You don't have to worry about logistics of the events. You don't have to worry about, the selling of the events. We have a team. Now it's not, it's a team that we're going to refer you to. It's not like our Scott and I, personal team. We outsource everything, right? We keep our businesses very simple, so we outsource everything. So yeah, so we'll have the team there to do all the logistics, do all the selling for you, and so your job is just to play the mental role. Once the students sign up with you as a coaching student, that you're gonna fulfill on that on that coaching and help them be successful with their real estate business. And then we got so Scott and I are doing a 2-day event that we're gonna go through this model in much greater details. Every bit of it from the ads to the preview events to the 3-day event to how we do our fulfillment on the back end, the coaching fulfillment, how we introduce certain service providers where we make a commission, an affiliate commission on top of that, completely residual income, passive income. So we're doing a 2-day event, and right after that 2 days, Scott is doing his 3-day event, and just to give you some dates. So the current date right now, so the 2-day event is August 19th and 20th. It's a mastermind event, and we're going to share about this local coaching model, August 19th and 20th. And then Scott's 3-day real estate event that he's going to be selling people into coaching is August 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So it's optional if you want to stay for that 3 days, so you can get to experience what it's like, in real time, how Scott runs his events, and how we do the coaching, right? How we sell the students into the coaching programs, so that's just the upfront part of it. And then once the event is over, and for the 2-day event, for those of you who are not comfortable with flying in to Virginia Beach, who's not comfortable with flying in, we are going to have a Zoom virtual as well for those of you who want to attend it virtually. Now, experience it in person. It's going to give you an amazing experience. It's very hard to duplicate that virtually. However, we understand, we will make the virtual available as well. We do encourage you to be there for the whole 5 days if you can, because you really get to immerse yourself into this model and really experience it. And then after that, our goal is to help you have your first event within 90 days from when you attend, our 2-day training. Okay. So at the 2-day training, you're going to walk away with having your date set for your first event, like Scott did, back in 2015, right? Like, so that's what we want for you as well. Okay. Have your date set before, by the time you leave our 2-day trainings, and then our team will be in place to help you implement it all the way through, and get you going. So if you're interested in this, what we want to do next is for you to schedule a strategy session with us. And on this strategy session, we're going to find out more about you, your local market. Make sure that this model is a fit for you. Make sure that, that we're fit to work together, because this is going to be a year-long mastermind. It's not just a 2-day training. It's 2-day training, implementation to do your events, and a year-long mastermind so we can, share ideas and we can, help each other succeed. We're always going to be learning from each other. As you do your events, you're going to learn, from us, and as we do our events, you learn, vice versa, right? So always going to be sharing notes. This is not, when you're signing up for the mastermind, it is for 1 year. However, we want this to be for the life of you doing this business. And it's just, so it's not a short-term thing. We'll pretty much be friends, family, hanging out, and learning and succeeding with each other. So with that, to schedule your strategy session, so that way, we can make sure that you're fit. Scott, do you happen to have that link that you can share your screen on?
Nope, it's on my phone, so I can.
Okay, it's okay. I'm gonna switch over to sharing my screen, so we can see that.
I would also love to hear if anybody has any questions on how the model works.
Yeah. So here you go. I'm gonna zoom in here. So if you go to bit.ly/Scott Jelinek, it allows you to, it will take you to a Calendly page where you can book your appointments, okay? All right, and you should be able to just do that without having to put in HTTPS, but if you want to, you can do it that way as well, okay? All right, so bit.ly, Scott Jelinek, and to schedule your call, all right? And so we're gonna open up for questions now. Yeah. For any of you, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I know one of the, yeah. Trying to get back to the page where I can see the chats. I'm not able to see it. Okay. Oh, here it goes. All right. Yeah. So yeah, if you have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can type in the type in the chat and I'll ask it. Okay. Lloyd said, Scott and Tim, awesome content and details. Thank you. Awesome, Lloyd. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So, while you're thinking about your questions, if you have any, one of the common questions that I hear all the time is that, is this going to be a distraction from my real estate business? Will I have the bandwidth needed to do a coaching program? Because a lot of time people think, coaching takes a lot of time, a lot of work. Okay. Yeah. So Scott, you want to answer that question real quick, and then we'll go to Lloyd's question, which is, and just so you know too, Scott, so Lloyd's question is, what strategy are you using with your students?
I'm guessing, Lori, that you mean which real estate strategy am I teaching? I primarily teach wholesaling and something we call slow flips, which you may or may not have heard of, which is a buy and hold strategy where we sell them off, we pay them off in 5 years and sell them long-term with owner financing. But I do have some students that do rehabbing. I've rehabbed hundreds of houses, but I stopped rehabbing myself in 2013. So I don't push that direction. But some people, my whole thing I teach everybody is if you love taking something ugly and making it pretty, you should get into rehabbing, but don't do it for the money. People that chase money into rehabbing end up being the ones who lose money. So I primarily teach wholesaling.
Awesome.
With COVID, have you changed anything? So yes. So since March, I started doing, up until March, I was always meeting in person. Since March, we've been doing meetings like you're doing right now, except I guess maybe 2 weeks ago, my state opened up for groups of up to 50. So we had one meeting already since, and we'll probably go back to normal now. Plus, we didn't do any live appointments, by-call appointments for all of March and all of April. And now we started again, going back to our regular by-call appointments. But moving forward, I'm hoping everything goes back to normal. That's my plan for August, other than I may have somebody at the door spritzing your hands or squirting a lotion on you like they do on the cruise ships when you enter the dining room. Other than that, I don't plan on changing anything unless it's required by law.
Awesome. Okay. All right, anyone else questions? I guess we must have went through it very thorough, Scott. All right, so let me see here. We see, I'm curious, like which one of you, can see yourself doing a local coaching in your market?
So it's interesting because I didn't want, which is why we promoted it the way we did. We didn't want people who were in that business already. We wanted people who were just successful real estate investors who wanted, to do something, because I think they're the ones that can do the most good. People that are already successful real estate investors and then add on the coaching, not people who want to skip the real estate part and just get into coaching, because I see way too much of that. So we wanted people who are already successful in what they're doing. And that's why I kind of think if you're already doing well in real estate, it's the perfect fit.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. And, there's so much things here. As Scott mentioned earlier, that he was able to cut down on his marketing because now he's leveraging the marketing dollars that the students are using. And so just helping them close on the deal and get a split of the profit, right? So in your case, you can either cut down on your marketing and do more deals with students, or you can keep your marketing the same and do additional deals with students. You could do that, and I mean, you can structure this. A lot of times people think that coaching means that I have to schedule weekly calls with students or monthly calls with students. It doesn't mean that at all. I want you to look at coaching as, helping the students get a deal done. Okay. And so you want to take that and you work your way like backward from there, right? Reverse engineer that. What would it take to help a student close on deals? All right. That might mean that you have a company lined up, which we have companies. We have a company that we refer you to do the marketing for the student. So all the student has to do is put into the marketing pool, and the company does all the marketing for them. Okay, and so that will help a lot with students getting deals done. And now students, especially on their first deal, 2 deals, there might be worry about not knowing the right things to say, fearing to meet up with the sellers. So either you or one of your coaches, someone on your team, your acquisition person, go on appointments with them, right, to help them close that deal. And so if you just do those 2 things, like help them bring in the leads, help them close on the deal, you don't have to schedule any kind of pre-scheduled one-on-one coaching at all. Right. 0. Because at the end of the day, the students don't want a bunch of coaching calls. That's not what they want. What they want is to make money. That's it, right? They just want to close on deals and make money. And so when you structure your coaching, that's what I want you to think about. Like, what is it going to take to get the students to close on deals? That's it. You don't need so that's why the reason why Scott mentioned he only spend, like average five hours a week with coaching students is because he's not about doing a bunch of coaching calls. It's about closing deals. And so that's what's going to help you make more money with deals with students, with having an army of deal partners, students out there, and without a whole lot of bandwidth on your end, without a whole lot of coaching fulfillment that you have to do. Okay. All right. Scott, can you think of any other major questions
So I want to touch on one thing, and nobody said anything because everybody's muted, I guess, but that may be in your head. Now, sometimes if you know these national coaching programs, people in their head have this thought, it's a scam. How could somebody pay 30 grand? How could somebody pay 50 grand for coaching, right? It's, everything's a scam. And so and to be frankly honest with you, I wasn't 100%. When I first started, my very first time I had to do my pitch, which is on day 2, where you actually mentioned the coaching program, my voice cracked. Literally, it cracked when I said $50,000. And my second event, same thing. Like I dreaded that part of the event. By my third event, my students from my first 2 events were all successful. I had them coming up getting giant checks, and then I had no problem. This is how much it is, and here's exactly what you get. And I can prove it because here's these people that took the plunge before you, and they're all doing well. So I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to let you go because I'll ramble all night long. But I'm going to tell you my very second event, I had a lady who was signing up for coaching, and she was only doing $30,000 package. Before I got into this, that was a huge amount. But anyway, so she was doing a $30,000 package, and we had a mixer, and I got to meet her, and they were introducing me to her and telling me her story. And she was explaining to me that she had just gotten over breast cancer. This lady's about 50, 57, 58 years old, just beat breast cancer. She's never made more than like $21,000 in her entire life. And her daughter's on the phone with her while she's there with her husband talking to me, telling her, don't do it. It's a scam. Don't do it. It's a scam. All I wanted to do was not do it. I did not want to take her money because I'm like, how am I going to make this lady successful? And I tell you this story because it cleared my head from prejudging people. I wanted to not take her because I was like, I was scared. I'm like, I don't want to take this lady's money. How am I going to make her successful, right? She did not fit what I thought was the avatar of what a successful real estate investor would look like. She has gotten a giant check on our stage at every event for the last 4 years. Every quarter. Yeah. So every quarter, every event since she signed up with us. And mind you, not a fortune, but combined total, she probably makes about 80 grand a year doing this. And I know that doesn't sound like a ton, but she's somebody who never made more than $21,000 a year her entire life.
Wow.
And it's people like her, and mind you, I know you said you strive for 100%, and we all hope for 100%, but I can't get everybody to take action. But it's because I have dozens like her who literally, it completely changed their entire life. That's what makes this awesome. Yes, it's awesome we get to make a bunch of money. Yes, it's awesome we get to, live our dreams. But you literally completely change people's lives, which is kind of what we were talking about, Tim, with doing this. Because much like Zach is a great example, his life has changed being the coach now. He was already doing awesome as an investor, but now he's 10x'd it by being the coach. And so that's why doing this, I just think, is just going to really take it to another level. I really do. I mean, I think it's one thing to help people to change their life. It's another thing to help people to change a bunch of people's lives. And so I'm kind of excited about doing this, and I have a feeling it's going to have a huge impact.
Yeah, I totally agree with you for sure. And yeah, we didn't achieve 100% success with our students either, but I guarantee you our success rate, with our company, with Scott's company, is way, way, way higher than any of the coaching companies out there. Like, there's no way any of the national company can compete with what we do for our students. I mean, it's very hard for a national company to service our clients, service our students at the level that we service them. So that's the reason why we're able to charge more. In my case, my program was 25,000, 50,000, and 100,000. I was increasing. When I first started out, I was only charging 25,000 for coaching, for year-long coaching. But as my student success rate increased, and I get to see how much they made in their business, and that's it allows me to justify my price increase. And yeah, the first time that I pitched a $100,000 program, I never in my entire life can I even imagine offering $100,000 package, right, coaching package. I thought nobody's gonna buy this thing, and I'm just gonna pitch it. I'm just gonna say it, offer it, just so that way my other coaching packages seems inexpensive, right? Because now it's 100,000. So I didn't think anybody's gonna sign up for this $100,000 program. Well, the first time I pitched it, 2 people would sign up for it, and every single one of our events. We had at least one person sign up at every single one of our events. So it's not a package that we sell a lot of. However, we do make it available, and people do sign up for it. Like I said earlier, we provide our students with all the resources they could imagine. That help our students very successful. Now, Loy mentioned, Loy said we were doing rehab with students, but stopped because of market change. I want to address this. So we also teach. So in my case, we teach about wholesaling and rehabbing and landlording. We don't have the slow flip model like Scott has it with our students. So what we do with our students is this: with rehabbing. Is we teach them not do high-end rehabs. We stay away from those. We stay with rehabs that we can easily convert to rentals if it doesn't sell. So we focus on a base. It's lower than median home price, right? So it's like rental. Got to make sure it cash flow, so because of that, even as the market changed. And Lloyd, you probably can use this as well. So as even as the market change, whenever a student sell a rehab, whenever a student rehabs a property, they have 1 or 2 options. They can either sell it retail, or they can refinance into a long-term loan and keep it as rental. So our students always have that options. And we also connect our students with turnkey providers, so that way our students can always sell their property to turnkey providers. So we, whenever we get into a rehab of these kind of rental rehabs, we pretty much, we pretty much have buyers lined up on the back end to buy these deals. So we were able to do rehabs regardless what the market condition is, really. If it's a good market, bad market, whatever, as long as there's landlord buyers out there buying, as long as the turnkey providers are still out there selling, they have clients that buy, we're good to go, because we can sell to them. And we have local property management companies in place to manage these properties for these turnkey providers. So our job is basically just rehab the property. We're in and out of the deal, and we connect the different parties, right? The different companies in place to do that. So things like that. Because I've been doing this for a while, I have a lot of connections with turnkey providers. So that's a benefit to my students. Otherwise, they don't know who to go to work with, right? They don't have those kind of sources that you, as a local investor, have. You, as an experienced investor, have that you can provide to your students. Lloyd, does that help answer your question/comment? All right. Actually, she looks like she got dropped off. So I'm gonna have to send her the replay of that part so she can implement that. Because I know, if I remember correctly, she does rehab virtually, so it's not not even in
nice.
the local market. Yeah. All right. Let me see here. Anyone else have any other questions? All right. If not, we'll wrap it up. Okay, everybody. Yeah, thank you so much for being on this Zoom call. I really appreciate you guys taking your time to be on here. To book an appointment with Scott and I, it's bit.ly Scott Jelinek. Okay. Scott, thank you so much, buddy, for doing this with me, for being on this call.
No, it was my pleasure. I'm looking forward to doing this.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Happy, have a great evening, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a great night.
Good night, baby.